I was on a Zoom call yesterday, a meeting, and someone came into our Zoom call and did some vulgar things. And he was in his underwear. And then he started disrobing, and people were freaking out, right? And so the co-host and the host got rid of him, and then he tried to get back in the room again. And some of us thought it was funny, and some of us thought it was really it was not something that we need to have in this particular meeting. And I kind of smiled, and we talked, and I was like, okay, let's move on. Let's get to the work at hand here. And so people do dumb things. And again, I don't know from a psychiatric standpoint what was wrong with this dude. I didn't know who it was. And then I did a charity event. Just follow me here because these are two totally different ideas, but there's a linkage here.
Okay.
I did a charity event that I talked about on this radio program on the Kurre and Klapow show, which, by the way, you can hear later on tonight from 6 to 8 if you miss any of it this morning on a Facebook Live.
Don't forget to download the app.
You can hear Damon Johnson again later on tonight, right around 7:30.
Download the app any place you can get the app.
Download the app. It's super cool. You're going to love it. And right now our numbers are scrolling because they're loving this content.
Let's go ahead.
And so I did this charity event, free, no big deal. It was for a Christian organization. Happy to do it. Mm-hmm. And obviously I have a past. I had a perception. I lived up to it. I was rock and roll crazy, man.
Yep.
I was doing wet T-shirt contest and all these crazy things early in my life, but I'm obviously a changed man. I'm different. I'm 55 now. I have 3 children. I'm divorced, and I'm trying to live my life right. And I've made mistakes. And would I have done anything different?
No.
Probably not, because I was 22, 23 years old, and I was invincible, and that's the way I lived my life. And so I did this charity event, and when it came back up the following year, I wasn't invited back. Not even as just to attend.
What'd you say?
So normally when you do a charity events, I'll do any charity event everyone ever asks. I'm more than happy to help if it's something I believe in, and I believe in most charitable organizations. I'm more than happy to help out any way I possibly can. I'd love to give back that way. And but it did, and I found out that it had gone and passed, and I didn't even know about it. The guy who hired me to do it didn't even reach out to me. And so I called him on it and said, hey, who'd you have as your keynote speaker that night? And he's like, oh, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And I says, gee, I would have liked to known. Maybe I would have given some money towards your cause.
Right.
I could have brought some people with me. I've been to other different Christian organizations, the Young Business Leaders Organization and stuff, and I enjoy doing those things. And he said, the woman who was running the show doesn't like you.
I've been there.
And I said, have you?
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean? He goes, he goes, I'm just being honest with you. I said, no, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm okay with that. He goes, yeah, you did something on the radio like in 1992. You said something about women that she heard once. And she asked why you were here last year, and she's like, I don't want him back, certainly as our keynote speaker, and I thought I did a pretty good job. And she's like, I don't think I'm comfortable with him being here at a Christian organization where we're supposed to be all forgiving, right? And I'm like, oh, and I said, well, that's really short-sighted. And I was like, okay, it's fine. And I said, well, what exactly did I say that got on her nerves? Yeah. And I said something like, women are like a cold car in the morning. You have to get them. You have to get them warmed up a little bit first. And I don't know in what context I was talking, sexually or just probably. And I laughed when he told me, that's kind of funny. And
that's why.
And I was kind of like, that's kind of funny. And he's like, yeah. And I said from 1992. And he's like, I said, so that was 20 something years ago. And he's like, yeah. And I said, wow. I said, that's really short sighted. And I'm sorry she feels that way, but that's her demons. That's what she can deal with. I said, well, that's fine. I'm always here for you. I'm here to help you out any way I possibly can. I've done everything from Ronald McDonald houses to
what was the
Jimmy
inside of you saying? Come on,
you hypocritical piece of crap.
There you go. Okay, I just want. That's my job.
And so I went back and started thinking about all these things. And again, I can only be me, and I can do the best I possibly can. I'm a sinner. I do bad things, and I've done bad things, and I'll probably do bad things again. But I'm trying to live my life according to his will every single day. So then I see this Jeopardy story this morning. Just go with me.
I'm trying.
So evidently, and I can
yeah.
really care less about who the next host of Jeopardy is going to be. I don't really give a squat.
But
I know a lot of people like to watch Jeopardy because it makes them feel smarter, and it's a hell of a lot easier to get the answers when you're sitting in front of the TV and you got time than opposed to having that button, right? And so I see the story about Mike Richards, who is the executive producer, who evidently was going to get the gig, and a lot of Jeopardy fans didn't like the fact that someone on the inside was getting the gig. And I know they've talked about Aaron Rodgers and Chris Jennings and all these other guys. And so they start digging. And, of course, the best place to dig is social media. So they go back and they're looking through years and years of Twitter account stuff. And, there's something there. He said something mean about this particular person, or he was responding something, or he followed something. He followed a person that said this about this, or he liked this post, or he liked the picture of this woman half naked, and we're going to hammer you. And, boy, he was out as quick as he got in, right? He's still with Jeopardy, by the way. I think he also produces Let's Make a Deal or something. So he's still being executive producer, and he just kind of cut out. I made some mistakes in my past. Sorry, I'm out. That's all he said. He still got his job. So now Chris Jennings, who was the first person to ever win over $1 million and won like 74 matches in a row, was the next guy they were looking at because he was the face of Jeopardy.
Right.
He's filled in before. Him and Alex Trebek were friends. Yep. They had dinner together, broke bread together.
What'd they find?
And so people that don't like Chris Jennings for whatever reason, because it wasn't the person they wanted to host the show, start digging. Well, they found Twitter posts from like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago before he was the Chris Jennings we know. He said something about someone in a wheelchair, had some type of, and I didn't go through all of it. I certainly wouldn't have not said some of the things that he said.
So you read it and you
he liked some things, but some things to me, I was kind of like, but it wasn't like, he wasn't talking about Nazis.
No,
or,
but
it was off the cuff.
Where did you come down on it?
You could tell he was trying to be funny.
Okay.
And again, when you're writing things, you never know what the inflection is.
Nope.
You don't know the thread. You don't know if you just read that and you haven't read the prior threads, you're out of the loop. You're walking in the middle of a conversation, hearing someone say, what? And you're like, you're posting it. And then, so you have to be super careful. People that follow you and trying to find dirt, they don't care. You said it. You wrote it. It's there. It doesn't matter what the previous thread was. Yeah. I even went back through some of my things and thought, man, if you didn't read what was said to me before that, that would look pretty bad.
Yeah.
My point is, I have no room in my life for hypocritical people. We're all hypocritical in some form, sense, or fashion. I get that. I could care less if Chris Jennings gets this job. I really don't care. It's making Jeopardy look like they're hoity-toity better than thou, because now every person that wants to have that job is going to be scrutinized and looked at. Listen, if I used to run a strip club and now I want to become a pastor of a local church, I get it.
No, but
there's some things.
Yeah, I disagree. I have no problem with.
Again, it depends on what was said, how it was said, in what context. If we're going to go back through, and this could go for any particular job. Now, this is a celebrity.
Right.
I think we give a little nod to celebrities because we're kind of like, yeah, they're in this world where it's a lot different than what we're doing.
You're losing me. We think it's okay.
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying, remember that people change.
No, but here's the thing.
Should I have not done this charity event because of something I said in 1992?
No, but the person.
Okay.
No, hang on. But the person who was offended by it has and if they're in a position to influence the charity, you said what you said. That's your dirt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Listen, and I'm not doing this in the holier than thou. This is a conversation that I have frequently because you know me, I tend to just jump right in there, right? Mm-hmm. That's my thing. I've had you sort of warn me. Yeah. My wife is my public moral compass. Mm-hmm. She's like, your reputation is it's what your license. It's your reputation. I think that if there's dirt, then you have to live by the dirt that you did.
I agree.
And what I mean by that is it may or may not ruin your entire life, but it may have consequences for some opportunity, charity event, Jeopardy host, that kind of thing. Where, to be honest with you, where I get frustrated is if he said something and it was taken out of context and you could show that it was out of context and he really didn't say anything wrong at all.
Yeah.
Not even dicey. Just don't know. Then that's not dirt.
Yeah.
But, if you say something, then anything you put out there that you say that is inappropriate or is conceived as or perceived as inappropriate can come back to haunt you. My wife has said about some of the things that you and I talk about, because we go right down that line.
Yeah, we do.
We get into that line. And what she has said to me a number of times is, be thoughtful about what you say. Because she's like, and she'll say it, I love Tony. He's got a great heart. Yep. But when you get with Tony, and she said this, when you get with Tony, I'm saying this, I was like, you get loose. You get loose, which is good. Yeah. As long as you remember that you're in a public place and that the things that you say, it's bad to say them in a private place. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's okay to say it in the sanctity of your own home, but the implications for it are much larger. And so I have no problem with it if the dirt is there. Yeah. That's all I'm saying, is that if the dirt is there.
I agree with him. And Chris Jennings may not want the Jeopardy job. And maybe he shouldn't have the Jeopardy job. I don't know. My point is that we've all said and done really stupid things in our lives. Absolutely. And my whole point is, don't be so hypocritical, because I can promise you the woman who didn't want me at that charity event has done some things that we don't dig, and maybe she's on social media, and that's fine too. That's okay.
No. The hypocritical is interesting because, I'm all about, I can't stand hypocritical.
Just be careful about how you judge people and what they've said in the past, because people change. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying to give them a job. I'm not saying you should look past it. Whatever, that's fine. There's some things that some people can't get past, whether it's their beliefs, their political affiliation, whatever. I understand that. But I'm just saying, check it down a little bit and try to understand that people do change. Did he say it last week or did he say it last decade?
No, all right.
People are different.
I would love to know, this woman who got you rejected, what kind of influence she had. Obviously, she had enough. But because the person who hired you for the year before could have said, hey, look, yes, he said that. I would encourage you. Tony's the kind of guy I would encourage you to talk to him before you do. You know what I'm saying? So now either that or she was funding the whole thing So, and I think that's the thing that you realize. And again, this is a Julesism. You never know who's listening, who's watching, or who's going to be digging. Mm-hmm. And I'll say one more thing about that. We do have to live by the consequences. We will, look, we're going to say stuff on this show that at some point in our lives, possibly, someone's going to dig it up and go, God, I can't believe Klapow said that. We're not going to give him a job.
And I want people to do things or react to people the way they want to react, not because they're feeling pressure from other people to say, we can't have this person here. I'll throw another example. I was a very good friend, and I still consider myself friends with a priest who's in this town. Mm-hmm. He has slept on my couch. I have had him over for holidays. He has said mass at my kitchen table for my family and my children when we were going through a tough time. And I'm purely grateful for that, and we have broken bread, and I really considered him a very close friend until he started feeling pressure from people on Twitter saying, do you realize that Tony Kurre just posted a picture of a dildo on his page? That was in the middle of a street. He. That was sent to me from someone else on Facebook, and I said, look, they added a new speed bump on Valleydale Road. That was hilarious, and I would post it again. As a matter of fact, I think I did. This is so unpriest-like. Yeah. And he didn't repost it. He didn't respond to it. But did you? So they went back through my stuff. Right. And because we were going back and forth. I've had him on my radio show probably a dozen times. I know who you're talking about. He just posted something the other day. A picture of you and me and him holding hands in a studio praying before the Kurre and Klapow show. I know. And said, we need to do this again. And I'm going, where the hell did that come from? Yep. And so I reached out to him. Hey, I saw your post. I hope you're doing well. Nothing. I got no response. because he was feeling outside pressure from his congregation and from a few people saying, hey, this Tony Curry guy, you don't know me then. And that's okay. It doesn't make me push the envelope. It doesn't make me be any nastier. It makes me want to be a better person. Does it hurt my feelings? Hell yeah, it hurts my feelings. Because I've heard what you said and what your wife has said about me for years. Watch that Tony Curry. Watch that Tony. Listen. No. I've heard it from other people at the radio station. You're going out with Tony tonight. Look out. Now, this is 10, 15, 20 years ago.
I was going to say, but what
I don't make anybody do anything.
What I say, and what Jules says is different. Jules is
it doesn't hurt my
but she's putting it on me.
Yeah,
she's not putting it on
she
you.
Should.
Well,
you're a big boy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She's not putting it on you. She's putting it on me.
Yeah.
She's like, tease your best friend, and you get super comfortable.
Yeah, you do.
And you see what I mean?
But I'm not trying to. No, I'm not walking you hand in hand into the depths of hell.
No, she's not blaming on you. She's blaming on my weakness.
If anything, that's why you're here, to bring it back.
No, that's the problem.
I mean, I did a show with Jay Barker. And when I started doing the show with Jay Barker, and I was on the Jay Barker Radio Network yesterday, when we first started the show, people were telling him, you can't do the show with Tony Curry because you don't know what Tony Curry is all about. He's going to take you down. And Jay's like, what? And to Jay's acknowledgement and to the love and the Christianhood that I have as a brother of his, he's like, you know what? I'm a big boy. I can handle this.
That's right.
I've been around it. I preach at churches. I've seen people fail, and I know that I hate the sin and not the sinner, and I'll figure it out. I'm good. Tony Curry drinks. You don't drink. What are you going to do? And he took it on, and we had a 14-year run, and I consider him one of my best friends. And so, and I think he's a better person for having met me, and I'm sure as hell a better person for having been around him. And so it worked out really, really great. But he felt that pressure from people around him. Going, you can't do that.
And that's the thing. So that's the thing. There is the what you want to do, and then there is your position relative to to society, to your company. I had it at UAB. Yeah. I had it at UAB because you know me. I'm sure I'm gonna go. I'll go on that show. I'll go talk about that. And I had UAB say, not only can you not, I remember, but then I developed a reputation. Klapow sold out. Klapow's this. Klapow's that. Yep. And it did hurt my feelings. But at the same time, I made the decision. See, this is the point. We live our lives and we make decisions and choices in our lives. And those decisions and choices may have consequences. They may not. It's almost like, I don't know if it's like a gambling thing. I'm going to say something right here, right now, and it may have a huge implication. I may get fired from my job, or it could be nothing. And so I do think that as much as you have to live your authentic life, do not do that as a shield of armor. Yeah. I'm just being me. Mm-hmm. That I'm just being me is the biggest bunch of crap, defensive crap I've ever seen, because you do not exist in isolation and in a vacuum.
And again, a lot of it has to do with your platform. It has to do with your influence. Charles Barkley, I think, is the finest example of that. I know Charles. I think he's a great guy. He speaks his mind. I know he says things that people don't like. It doesn't matter. He is the most transparent. I don't even know if he knows how transparent he is, because he's Charles, and he makes a lot of money, and he brings a lot of revenue into TNT, into his NBA. He's just, I love because he's so transparent. He seems so comfortable with who he is and doesn't give a damn whether you like it or not. Now, his platform is big enough, and he's got that. He's not going to lose his job over it. And so there's a big difference there. And so, I want people, and I love this about you, because I tell people that when we're doing the Kurre and Klapow show, because when we first started doing, you were very clinical, you were a psychologist.
20 pages a minute.
And I said, where Josh is great is when you're a little clinical, you're a little Josh, and you're the man in the middle. And, and sometimes you've caught yourself, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that. But that's when it's great radio, because you are who you are, and I want people to realize that. I just don't want people to change because of the influence behind it. Now, listen, if it's your boss, and you're making $3 million a year.
Do you see what I'm saying?
My boss, I tweeted something out several months ago. We got to take a break here real quick because we got Damon Johnson coming up in 13 minutes. But I tweeted something out about, I am so sick and tired about hearing ED commercials that I think I'm just going to go buy a couple popsicle sticks and some duct tape and I'll be fine. Ha 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 ha. On my personal Twitter page.
Yeah, but you represent.
Not on the radio stations,
No,
but
but
on
you
Tony Curry,
yeah.
on Tone the Bone 37, right?
Yeah. But
I get a phone call from my boss.
Oh, yeah.
The one that fired me. Saying, hey, you posted something earlier today. First of all, I acknowledged the fact that I must have pushed some buttons because he was calling me out. And I've got 13,000 followers, whatever. He said, hey, you posted something about this, and we have this ED clinic that spends millions of dollars with us every year, and they tagged it, and they called me and asked me if you would please take it down.
I see nothing wrong with that.
Well, I already got it out. And I was like, and as a team player and as a guy that wants to impress his boss, I said, happy to do it. I understand. I did make it a point that it was on my personal page. It wasn't on the Jocks page or any other thing I had to do with Cumulus. I said, but I'd be more. And he goes, thank you. Like he thought he was going to get some brushback. No. And I was like, no, I'm not going to be one of these guys. No, damn it. This is my page. I can do what I want.
You see, that's
because it was no big deal. And the funny was already out. It had been retweeted 14,000 times. And so I said, So I said, no problem. But it was who I was. And then the next day, by the way, I thought that was pretty funny. But I hope you understand. I said, damn, I understand. So
you know how many times we've had that about our show?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, we can't put that. We can't.
We've been taken off YouTube. We've been taken off things because of some of the content.
I'm sorry, like we can't. But at the same time, they're like, "Oh my God!"
That's when I point at you and go, "Dr. Josh Klapow. He's a doctor.
Yeah, I'm a doctor. I can say
this has got to be.
I can say
he's
it.
Drew Pinsky.